Welcome back with the Plat. Guys, today we are talking lower rarity units. So this is a little bit of a continuation of a video I did a few days ago about what to reroll for. However, you don't really need to reroll for lower rarity units. So these are going to be things that are going to be, they should be target farmable with the new RTA currency, where you should be able to get these guys relatively easily. And the main reason for this video is to kind of give you a highlight of which units are going to be worth building and which ones are not going to be as much worth building, as all SRs are not created equal. Some are absolutely game changers in how powerful, and they will actually, how powerful they are. Some are absolute game changers with how powerful they are, and they will make it onto high like meta teams, and other ones just don't really find a home that well right now. Maybe they get buffs, but it's not saying they're bad, but you may not want to invest your limited resources into them in the early game. So without further ado, we're going to go over each category, and I'm going to give you the ones that I think are the most investing in. Starting with sustain. Now for me, this isn't even close, okay? I am all in on Sania. I just love how she could revive, first of all, which is pretty damn unique. In fact, I think it's the only reviving in a lower rarity. Also, her revive, you could use it not as a revive, but it can just grant a permanent, well, you know, for the combat, max HP increase. And so on characters like Tiamat that really care about having a really huge HP pool, this is like such a good pairing with a unit that everyone is going to be going for already. So I think Sania is probably my go-to best sustain. However, of course, I would be amiss if I did not mention Velarin here. This is not a unit I personally use that much. However, I hear a lot of people talk about this unit. I don't know the exact use case where you want to use them. However, this is definitely going to be a unit that you will not feel bad about ranking up. Now, there's not very many supports, if I'm being honest, in the lower rarity stuff, but that's fine because there's only one worth a damn, and that is Chi-Aki the Echo. This unit is so cracked. I think I will keep this unit on my party for most of my entire playthrough, besides like on specific fights where she's not good, and maybe not in PvP or something, but like for most fights in the game, I think I'm going to keep her there because I think she is going to be maybe not literally the #1 meta choice in every single fight, but I do think she is going to be a super strong budget replacement to these really high rarity units. It's hard to describe just how many extra turns you get when she's on the team. Basically, she has an AoE that advances everybody, but also she'll apply like this buff that can advance them. And if I remember correctly, if she reapplies it, it'll give everyone a little bit of advancement. And then when she attacks, she can go again really fast. So basically her whole thing is she gets a lot of turns, she gives your team a lot of turns. And guess what? On a turn-based game, getting a lot of turns is very good. The only time I think she might falter is that she doesn't passively have any way to become faster. She doesn't have a super high base speed stat. So when you get to the point where everyone has kind of grinded their speed stat really high, she will be a little bit lower than other units because she doesn't have a super high base speed. So she can get outsped, but in the early and mid game, she's going to be badass. Absolutely a unit that I'm going to use for most of the game. Debuff is really where a lot of these units shine because there's just a lot of them, and they're honestly all pretty good. I'm going to give 3 mentions here instead of just the one, right? These are all units that I think are going to be worth building. First one here is Dina. Now, don't let this fool you. We could put a different category up here, and she is tier 0. She is just like a debuff queen. She absolutely puts so much, like, she could put vulnerable, and then I think it's defense down and vulnerable, and like gives herself or other people a higher crit chance when they attack the thing. There's like this skill that does AoE. It hits 4 times AoE, and it's like the apply defense down, and if they have defense down, apply vulnerable, and if they have vulnerable and defense down, apply like sanguine blade or something. I don't remember the exact name of it, but she just debuffs like crazy. Makes your damage dealers deal tons more damage, and honestly, she does reasonable damage herself. It's not great, but it's totally fine. Not the best. Like, I didn't really use her in PvP. It just felt like a lot of people had cleansing and stuff, right, where it didn't actually stick and it didn't do enough damage. But against PvE fights, this is going to help you take it to the next level. Now, I have not used Marvel here myself. I believe they were new to this final test, so they might be getting a nerf. I don't know for sure. but everyone says this unit was absolutely cracked. So I don't have any experience with this unit, but this is a unit you should be using. They put it, I mean, everyone I talked to, they were like, yeah, this unit's absolutely busted. Probably too strong for an SR. So if they nerf it, maybe don't consider it. But if they don't nerf it, this is a unit you're going to want to build. Absolutely. I think Kraken is going to be a unit you're going to want to build primarily for the one, they're good in PvP, which it's nice to have some lower rarity budget PvP stuff. Because one, it makes you feel good when you beat SSRs with SRs. But also, like, you're going to want a team, you're going to have to engage with the PvP because that's part of the game. So having a couple units that are good at it that you could switch in and out depending on the team is good. But really, the primary reason is because of that Doki Doki. This is a very good unit for the Doki Doki fight. And Doki Doki is probably going to be one of the most commonly farmed stages early on because they have the speed gear. And the earlier in the game you are, the more important speed is. I mean, it becomes more important later, but you have had time to grind to get the higher speeds. So you're going to want to get Kraken. And I think this is you're going to want to get Kraken on the Kraken. I think this is the unit I'm going to build very early to help me grind Doki Doki, as that is something that I didn't grind that much in my previous beta because I just kind of was going left to right. But this is a unit you should definitely build. Now, finally in DPS, this one's a little bit awkward. I'm going to list two. Basically, we have an AoE and we have a single target. I am going to say Gray here is kind of jacked. Now, of course, he's not good at everything. They say Aurora he's not good at. I honestly never even tried to use him in Aurora. It's probably just because of typing. But the fact that he has a giant crit buff to everybody, and then he hits like a truck, bro. And because of the way his crit buff works, it gives him an additional turn. It actually causes his cooldowns to come up deceptively fast. So he just does a big damage boost to the entire squad, and then he crits in a big AoE, and then even on his off turns, he gets to smack really hard, does absolutely a ton of AoE damage relatively consistently, and I would say more consistently than your SSR Lien. So Gray is absolutely a unit that I did not take off my squad for my entire playthrough. I used him in a lot of fights because he's just that good. Now, Victor, this is my favorite unit in the game, probably. It could be Chiaki here, but I think Victor is actually my favorite unit. This guy does one job and one job well. Not many units do this kind of thing, but he hits one guy in the head with a shovel very hard a lot of times. And then next turn, he does it again, and then he does it again, and he does it again. This is a unit that sacrifices his own HP, which is good because it works with, I believe it works with Tiamat then, because I believe she might, I don't know exactly how the interaction works because I didn't use Tiamat that much. This is a unit that sacrifices his own HP to get a massive shield. So it's like he'll give up, I think it's like 50% of his HP, 45% of his HP, and he'll get like a 55% of his HP shield instead. So you'll actually end up with more HP than what his HP stat is because of that skill. Also, he hits one target really freaking hard, man. I mean, he just goes smack, 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 smack. And then if they actually get through his shield and he gets low on life, whenever he attacks, he starts healing himself. And then when his ult comes up again, he gets to get another shield. So this is actually one of the single best single target units in the game. He just kicks the shit out of one thing. Now, this is a unit that I use all the time, but it is not a unit where if you're fighting like 3 or 4 waves of like 5 enemies or something, the Victor is probably not what you want, right? He is not a chaff clear unit. He is a boss killing Terramation. It's funny that they put him on the tier list for this because I look at this before time. But this was the unit I used all the time. I pushed so many more levels by putting Victor on my squad here because he just goes straight to the guy that you need to kill to win and just takes down all of his HP. And he does it again and again and again. And he's very tanky. He's got a lot of mechanics that make him good for this. We'll go into it more when I can actually play the game again. But Victor is a unit you should aim for and you should build. He's also probably, people say he's pretty good in PvP. It was kind of a meme back in the, not in the version I played, but before I was playing, that a lot of the players that were really, really, invested into the game used Victor, that he was kind of an unkillable tank. So the fact that he's good at the Union boss, I actually think is really cool as well. So overall, just a badass unit. You should be building Victor. But yeah, as far as low rarity units, they all have their purposes. And I don't want to like say, oh, just because you're down here for something doesn't mean you're not, usable. But again, resources are limited. If you could build every unit to max and have a perfect toolkit and you could use every character in their perfect situation, yes, you should do that. Especially early in the game. You are looking for units that are generically pretty good at a lot of stuff. Because when you build them, you'll be able to use them in a lot of different fights. If you have a unit that's like amazing in one specific fight and terrible everywhere else, that could be worth building depending on the fight, but a lot of times you would rather put your limited early game resources into things that let you clear as much content as possible. So keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, that is all for this one. Much love. For Platypus is for Ploutopus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! On the rise, watch the